I couldn't breathe. My body was frozen in that stiff, antiseptic hospital bed. Machines beeped steadily beside me, but they weren't comforting. They were mocking, reminding me I was trapped in this fragile shell, and whatever was in the room with me wasn't. I knew I was dying. Not in the way doctors talk about on charts and vitals. No, this was different. This was a pulling, like something had wrapped cold fingers around my soul and was yanking me toward a place I was never meant to go. And then I saw it. A shadow peeled itself off the corner of the ceiling. It had eyes burning red, impossibly wide, and they locked onto mine like it had been waiting for me all along. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. I couldn't even pray. It hovered, grinning, feeding off my fear, and then it lunged. I thought that was it, the end. But just as the darkness began to swallow me whole, something else appeared. A light brilliant, blinding, and a voice that said, "He is not yours." I didn't just survive that night. I witnessed a war, and what I saw behind the veil, it still haunts me. I was admitted to the hospital for what seemed like a standard infection. Nothing too serious. At least, that's what I thought. A persistent fever, high white blood cell count. Doctors figured a round of IV antibiotics would clear it up. But I felt off. From the first night, things didn't feel right. The room was cold, unnaturally cold, and no matter how many blankets they gave me, I couldn't shake the chill. The lights flickered randomly, even though the staff kept saying it was just the wiring. At one point, I asked a nurse if anyone had died in that room. She paused, looked away, and said, "Try to get some rest." That answer told me everything I needed to know. I started hearing things. Low whispers, just out of earshot, murmuring in a language I didn't recognize. At first, I thought it was fever dreams. Hallucinations, maybe. But one night, I woke up to the sound of my own name being whispered right beside my ear. Nobody was there. That's when the dreams began. Dark corridors, doors slamming, a sense of being watched, and always, this looming shadow just beyond my reach. It didn't speak, but I could feel what it wanted me. My soul. It wasn't just haunting my sleep. It was waiting for the right moment. My body grew weaker. Even though the infection was improving, the doctors couldn't explain why. My chart said I was stable, but I felt like I was slipping, like something was slowly draining the life out of me. I tried to tell the nurses. They smiled politely. Maybe they thought I was delirious. Maybe they didn't want to admit they'd heard similar stories. And then the shadows got bold. I'd catch movement just outside the bathroom door. My heart would race at night, waking me from dreams I couldn't remember but left me drenched in sweat and fear. One evening, the call button wouldn't work. No one came when I cried out. On the fourth night, I begged God not to let me die in that room. I didn't know what was coming, but deep inside, I could feel it approaching, crawling through the cracks in the veil between this world and the next. And then, the attack began. It started with silence. Not the usual stillness of a hospital after midnight. This was something else. The kind of silence that presses against your ears like water. Thick. Suffocating. Every hum from the machines vanished. Even my own breath felt muted, like I had been submerged in something beyond the reach of sound or time. Then the cold came back. Not from faulty HVAC or a breeze from the hallway. This was the kind of cold that creeps into your bones, that sinks into your chest and squeezes. It rolled up my body like a fog, but this fog was intentional, sentient. I tried to call for help. I tried to scream, but my lips wouldn't move. My limbs were lead. I was paralyzed, locked in my own body, aware, but helpless. The air felt heavy, oppressive, thick with something unseen. I strained my eyes toward the ceiling, and that's when I saw it. The darkness wasn't just filling the room, it was watching me. From the upper corner, a shape began to separate itself from the shadows. It had form, but only just. It was as if hatred had grown a body long, hunched, wiry. Its eyes were burning red coals, boring into mine. When it opened its mouth, the world tilted. The air bent around its breath. From that gaping maw came a sound I can't describe, something between a growl and a chorus of tortured screams. I couldn't move, couldn't fight, couldn't run. Then I heard it inside my head. You called. You begged. But no one else came. It was responding to the prayer I whispered the night before, the desperate plea I thought no one heard. But something had. This thing. It hovered above me now, as if testing my resistance. Its claws reached downward, stretching, curling, and as they neared my chest, I felt something inside me, pulling away like a thread unraveling, being drawn out of me strand by strand. My heart screamed. My soul trembled. I thought, this is it. But then the temperature shifted. It wasn't heat, exactly. It was a pressure, an arrival. The air cracked. A sound like thunder, clapping underwater, rippled through the room. Then came the light. Not fluorescent. Not man-made. This light was alive. It didn't just illuminate it. Cleansed. It poured through the ceiling and burst into the room like a tidal wave of fire. The entity recoiled instantly, hissing, its form smoking as if the light itself was acid. And then they arrived. An angel towering, armored, wings that shimmered with the force of 100 suns. Its presence filled the room, and I knew without being told, this was a being of war, a guardian, not here to comfort, but to defend. The demon screamed not with fear, but with recognition. These two had met before. The angel spoke no words, but his sword pulsed with holy fire, and with a single motion, he stood between me and the thing that wanted my soul. The shadow twisted and lunged again, this time wilder, more desperate. And the angel blocked it every move like poetry, fluid and immovable. They clashed not with steel, but with light and fury. But even the angel seemed strained. This battle wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, ancient. And then everything stopped. He came. There was no flash this time, no lightning, just presence, a gravity that pulled everything to stillness. The demon froze. The angel stepped back and lowered his blade. Even I, paralyzed, terrified, felt peace. Jesus entered the room not as a man, not as a vision, but as truth made visible. I couldn't look at him fully. It was like trying to stare at the sun, but knowing the sun could see inside your soul. And I felt seen fully and completely. He walked toward me, not in haste, but in authority. The demon began to shake. Jesus raised his hand and spoke with a voice that shattered the very fabric of the room. He is not yours. The demon screamed in rage, in defiance, in fear. It twisted, cracked, and exploded into a cloud of ash and shadow, dissolving into nothingness. The room brightened. The pressure lifted. Jesus looked at me, not in judgment, in understanding, in love. And then, he touched my forehead. The paralysis left my body in an instant. Warmth surged through my veins. My eyes cleared. The heart monitor beeped again. I gasped for breath. I could move. He didn't say another word. He didn't have to. He turned. The angel followed. And just like that, they were gone. The room was normal again. But I wasn't. I woke up with the sound of machines around me, beeping, humming, normal. A nurse stood beside me, adjusting my IV, humming a soft tune under her breath like nothing had happened, like the room hadn't been a battlefield just hours ago. I moved my fingers, my legs. Everything worked. I hadn't felt that much energy in days, maybe ever. My chest still burned faintly where the demon had reached for me, but it wasn't pain. It was like something sacred had left a mark. The nurse smiled when she saw me awake. "Looks like someone had a breakthrough," she said. "Yeah, that's one way to put it." I asked if anything strange had happened during the night. She paused just a second too long and said, "No, you were stable the whole time." Stable? I remembered the silence, the paralysis, the demon, the light, and Jesus. Spike. Was it real? Every part of me said yes. In the days that followed, the doctors couldn't explain how I recovered so quickly. My fever vanished. My infection cleared faster than they expected. They said I was lucky. I knew it was something else. But it wasn't just physical. Something inside me had shifted. I saw things differently now. Not visually, I didn't start seeing spirits or hearing voices, but I could feel the weight of rooms, the vibration in someone's tone, a heaviness that wasn't mine. It's like the experience had left my spiritual senses raw and open. Once, as I walked past the hospital chapel, I felt a familiar warmth flood over me. Not a memory, something active, like being wrapped in a memory and presence at once. I almost dropped to my knees. I kept quiet at first. Who could I tell? Would anyone believe that I had been attacked by a demon and rescued by Jesus himself? Eventually, though, I broke the silence. I started with close friends. Then I found a support group of others who had near-death experiences, and that's when I realized I wasn't alone. The stories were different, sure, but the patterns, the messages, the light, too similar to dismiss. Not everyone believed me. Some called it hallucination, delirium, my brain's last gasps. But that kind of terror, the clarity of what I saw, wasn't from a fever dream. It left a scar, yes, but it also left a promise. Since that night, I've had dreams clearer, deeper. Some are warnings, others feel like echoes of something ancient. And once in a while, I'll feel that same cold. Not near, just watching. But I'm not afraid, because I know who stands with me. And maybe that's why I lived. Maybe I was meant to carry this story, to remind people, especially the broken, the doubting, the ones clinging to hope by a thread, that we are never alone. That even in a hospital room at 3 a.m., when evil creeps in, grace can still arrive like thunder. I'm still healing. I'm still learning. But I carry this truth like a sword. There is darkness, but there is light far greater. And the veil between the two, it's thinner than we think. If you've listened this far, I want you to hear me clearly. What happened to me wasn't just a nightmare or some strange fever dream. It was a glimpse behind the curtain of this world, a peek behind the veil. And that veil is real. It separates us from things we don't understand, and some things we're not ready for. But even in the face of that evil, when I was at my weakest, most broken, light answered. It didn't come because I earned it. It came because I called. Because somewhere deep in my soul, I reached for hope, and that hope reached back. So if you're facing your own darkness, whatever form it takes, I want you to remember this. You are never truly alone. There is more beyond this world. Forces of darkness, yes, but also forces of mercy, of strength, of love that defies explanation. I survived that night for a reason, and maybe part of that reason was to share this with you. If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join me again, right here, for another journey behind the veil.